welcome to the latest edition of the Bison video blog, Spring Colors Edition. We're very pastel colored today, aren't we?
Very Vikings color, and ironically, we should be wearing black, actually, after the stadium vote last night.
After that went through, that's
goodbye,
not good
Vikings.
news there. That's not good. But we'll try to spin things positive here as we're in spring, summer, summer's around the corner and all that good stuff, which means football isn't too far away. As NDSU gets set to wrap up spring ball, Jeff, on Saturday. They've had 3.5 solid weeks of practice, relatively injury-free. A couple of backups have been banged up, but we get set now to look forward to the spring game. Let's go back and give me an overview of what you've seen here out of the national champs and how the spring has treated them, and a couple guys maybe really have stepped up for you.
I've seen some pretty good defense. I think the defensive backfield is going to be one of the best in the football championship subdivision. The return of Brendan Pierre is huge because that gives another compliment to Marcus Williams, who we all know had such a good year last year and seems to be poised again to do the same next year. I think Pierre can be fabulous. I really do if he stays healthy.
Colton Hegel and Christian Dudzik in the safety position, pretty good. Jordan Champion, Zach Colvin, Ariel Boyd, if he gets his academics in order, it probably is the most deep position on the football field.
And I think your 3 starting linebackers are going to be at an FCS championship level too with Beck, and I think Grant Olson's really asserted himself this spring. And then you have Carlton Littlejohn, who continues to grow.
He had some great moments as well last year where he just made you, and maybe not as much as what Travis Beck did, but Carlton had that great interception return early in the season. I think that gets overlooked, but also made some athletic plays that linebacker core could be scary good. And now they get to replace athleticism with experience. What do you always go with there? I always like the experience, and you're losing Chad Wilson and Preston Evans there in the middle.
Well, I guess you'd like to have it both.
Yeah, but, right, and that's what they had last year.
But I think plus you have a defensive line who's going to be absolutely stout. Now, as many lauds as we're giving the defense, I think we need to exercise a little caution on the offense. Now, this is an offense that averaged 345 yards a game last year. It wasn't like this was Sam Houston at over 500 yards. It wasn't the most explosive offense in the universe by any means. It was solid. Had a good completion percentage from Brock Jensen for most of the year, but it wasn't like it was lights out every night, this offensive fireworks show. And now this spring, I haven't seen anything that I would say lends itself to, they're greatly improved. Right. I think they're rather flat, actually.
You can go back to the national championship game. That was not the offense's best day by a long shot. No. They needed a great screen pass that they went back to their old bag of tricks from 2010 to work, and a fake punt to really before they got anything going. And even after that, the offense still was pretty stymied until they got the Travis Beck interception return.
And then you lose your best receiver in Warren Holloway and perhaps your best lineman in Paul Kornick, and you have a great guard in Austin Richard. Those are 3 huge pieces away from this offense. So it's definitely a work in progress, at the least.
Now, also, they're dealing with the loss of Zach Vra, who was with a high ankle sprain, will not play in the spring game more than likely on Saturday. Ryan Smith, I have not seen any drop-off whatsoever. So NDSU is solid. They know they have with him. Trevor Gebhardt has had a nice spring, like he did last year. Ability to stay on the field is a big question mark. Then after that, we don't really know at the wide receiver spot, at least of yet. Cooper Wallow is getting a lot of accolades from the coaching staff. I know you had a nice story on him as well. He had a good playoff run, but he was in reverses. We haven't really seen him catch the ball yet, and that's obviously what he's brought here to do.
Do you have to catch the ball as a receiver? I guess you do, don't you?
That's, I guess, A1.
Yeah, that is A1.
Going to do that.
There's a couple freshmen, too. I think you're going to look to play, but to rely on a freshman coming in is not what you want to do.
Offensive line is something that everyone in the comments section has been asking us about. Tell me what you've seen out of the group up front, replacing 2 guys, one a 4-year starter in Austin Richard, a 3-year starter in Paul Kornick.
I think the 3 returning guys are going to be really good. Billy Turner is just a man-child over at left tackle. Joe Lenz, a real solid center, and Hines coming back. I think
who started at center and never played the position before a couple years ago.
Maybe doesn't have the tackle body, but he's been around, I think, and maybe Jervy and Pomeranke, I think they'll be okay there. Gimstead really came on last year. Lavoie, the other guard spot's a question mark, but that's mostly because of inexperience with him.
Running back, we have not seen a lot of Sam O'Jury, probably on purpose. I know he was dealing with a little post-concussion as well for the first scrimmage. I assume we'll see quite a bit of him coming up on Saturday.
I don't know if I would or not. I think if I were the head coach, which sometimes I think I should be. I would hold.
You should have told Craig that when he was here, by the way.
I'd probably hold out my star running back because I don't know if he needs to work so much. It's like DJ McNorton last year. They didn't give him a whole lot of reps actually until the season got going.
That's true.
So I would maybe keep Algieri on the sidelines and go with Lang and give Matt Jones, hey, here's your 20 carries. See what we can do.
I'll tell you this: wide receiver and running back during the fall are two positions, at least that I will be glued to, because that's apparently the much heralded debut of John Crockett in fall camp. Also, Devion Dinwiddie will be here, and then we mentioned the wide receivers on Saturday, and D. Gray, Kerry Woods, Deshaun Warren. Of those 5 guys, how many do you think see the field come September 1st?
I would say at least 2. I think one of those receivers and, of course, the running backs will be eligible, so they'll be playing in somewhere. So 3 guys. Let's say 3.
Who else are you looking for to step up on Saturday that the crowd, and we'll talk about that in just a second, that maybe we'll get their first glimpse at?
Well, I think you want to look at Grant Olson in the middle. I think he's the guy that's taken over. I think he's proven that he's a leader this spring. And I think everybody thought he would be. He was basically groomed in that spot behind Preston Evans. Look to see him take control of the defense.
I like Matt Jones a lot. A lot of people have been raving about him for a long time.
You're always over these up-and-comer guys.
Well,
You're always about these freshmen.
I like to see what they have to offer. And these are guys, all the red shirts, that got to go to Frisco last year, go on that trip, see exactly what it is that it takes to win. They also had a chance to practice, something you've hammered with me, all the way through December, to get that extra reps, to get that extra experience, that I think they're ready to just knock the doors off when the season starts.
Well, I'd rather see some of these guys that played a backup role and see what they can do in the starting role. Again, I go back to Olson. I go back to some of these the safeties moving over with Shepard and Christian Dudzik.
Yep.
You know, how do they adapt to the new position?
Esley Thornton really looked good on Saturday. What do we expect this coming weekend?
Well, I think he'll be fine. You know, but again, with the injury to Wentz, I guess that race is now a moot point.
Tell me, we had the biggest crowd at the Fargo Dome last year in the history of the spring game. Now coming off, and now we said it that night, the expectations from the public are obviously set pretty high for this football team, and they go on to win the national championship. What do you expect on Saturday for a team that's going to be presented its championship rings? What do we get at the Dome on?
Well, I think
Saturday?
you're going to see at least 2,000 people. It's interesting as you look around the country. I know like Georgia Southern draws about maybe 1,500 for their spring game. Appalachia State doesn't even have a spring game. Delaware has some event on a Friday where they call it Alumni Night. And Sam Houston does its game on a Wednesday. So, you know, the FCS level, for whatever reason, spring games just don't seem to draw that 20,000, or Nebraska, 64. You have Alabama at 70, Penn State 75,000. Boy, I mean, it's really apples and oranges when it comes to divisions.
Now, this is going to be, correct me if I'm wrong, the last time that any football players will be out on this turf on Saturday.
Oh, they'll be so sad.
Should there be some sort of ceremony? Should they be carving up the Fargo Dome turf after the game is done?
Yes, what we're going to do is after the game, we're going to have this huge bonfire. We're going to take that turf and burn it.
Now, they should have all the alumni that came to Frisco come Saturday that played at the Dome.
All their arthritis because of that turf.
Speaking of, you mentioned Georgia Southern just a few minutes ago. Last week, a story came out of the paper in Savannah that the university is raising nearly $11 million in funds to upgrade its football program. 5.1 is going to its stadium. Now, full disclosure, Ack, you've been to Statesboro, so you've seen Paulson Stadium. First, tell me, do they need 5.1? And second, does $11 million signal to you what it does to me, that they're seriously thinking about moving up?
Oh, I think they could probably put $5.1 million in some upgrade. And when I was there, they were building their facility on the end, the academic center and locker room complex. The stadium may be aging a little bit. It's still one of the best in the FCS. It's really a fine atmosphere. Now, if you're talking FBS, good luck on that, because you're going to need significantly more than $11 million. What are you talking, $70 million? Is that what they're talking?
Easy.
Easy.
Now, Georgia State, which is obviously in the same state, in Atlanta, just made the announcement last week that they're moving up, leaving the Colonial and going to the Sun Belt. That makes 3 FBS teams in Georgia. Can Georgia Southern do it? Is this something that makes sense for them to go ahead and move up? Because then you know the next question, if Georgia Southern does it, when is NDSU going to do it?
I'd like to take a poll of Georgia Southern fans. What would you rather have, an FCS playoff run or
every year,
or go in the Sun Belt and go to some obscure bowl game in Florida?
Yeah.
What would you rather do if you're a fan?
I know what I would. After experiencing the FCS playoffs, I would do that year after year.
Playoffs is where it's at in football.
Craig Bohl said it to us here.
Yeah. Yeah, unless you're one of the big dogs, unless you're in the SEC or the Big Ten or the Big 12 or whatever it's called now, the Pac-12. You know, it's really it's just another bowl game. I know maybe it might excite a few people, but so you win the Dom Izzo Oswego State Bowl.
I like that.
You know,
the
congratulations.
the Meineke Car Care Bowl isn't really going to get. Is it going to get the fan base really revved up like it did to go to like the 3 home playoff games did here, and then getting everybody to go to Frisco? I don't think so.
That's just me, though. I'm just a yokel from Fargo, North Dakota. What do I know?
What do you know is right?
You're from Oswego, another yokel. Two yokels.
We don't even play football in my hometown, so there you go. So that'll wrap up the latest edition of the Bison video blog. We're back Saturday for a full recap from the Fargo Dome as NDSU wraps up spring football with the green and gold game on Saturday.